I would request all of you to stand up, please. Please be seated. Thank you. On behalf of the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies, I, Bharati Kokil, welcome you all to the General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture 2023. We begin with the university song. May I request the august gathering to stand when the song is being played. The university song. Thank you. Please be seated. I would now like to request Professor Dr. Vijay Khare, Head of Department of Defense and Strategic Studies, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, to welcome the audience.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students. It gives me pleasure to welcome the Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhari, PVSM, AVSM, BM, ADC, Chief of the Air Staff, who has kindly consented to deliver the General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture 2023 on transformation of Indian Air Force into a contemporary and future-ready aerospace force. I would also like to welcome Air Chief Marshal P.V. Naik, PVSM, VSM, Lieutenant General Ajay Kumar Singh, AVSM, YSM, SM, BSM, GOC in Southern Command, Lieutenant General A.K. Ramesh, Commandant CME, Major General Abhijit Bapat, SM MGGS SD Southern Command, Major General Ajay Sethi, SM VSM ADG Recruiting, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Suresh Gosavi, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Parag Kalkar, former Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Nitin Karmalkar, who is going to join in a few minutes, Professor Dr. W.N. Gade, former Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Air Marshal Bhushan Gokhale, Air Marshal Soman, distinguished guests, heads of the department, members of the Management Council, members of the Senate, members of the administrative staff of Savitribai Phule Pune University, officers of the Army, Navy, Air Force, both serving and retired, members of electronic and print media, technical support team of Savitribai Phule Pune University, staff of the Southern Command, students, and all those who are present in the audience. The Department of Defense and Strategic Studies has been organizing the General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture since 1995 as an annual feature in the memory of late General B.C. Joshi. Since 2005, the Chief of Staff Committee resolved that the memorial lecture will be delivered by one of the three service chief in rotation on an annual basis. The Department of Defense and Strategic Studies was founded in 1963 after 1962 war with China. Initially, it was military history, then defense studies, and now defense and strategic studies. From last six decades, it is a paradigm shift in the department academic activity. Department has signed an MOU with Indian Army in the year 1994 and established the Chair of Excellence in the name of Chhatrapati Shivaji, Chair in Policy Studies, and currently the Chair Professor is Lieutenant General Hasabnis. In the year 2020, Department has signed an MOU with Indian Air Force and established the Chair of Excellence, first Chair of Excellence in the name of Marshal of the Air Force, Arjun Singh, and currently Air Marshal SS Soman is occupied that position. In the year 2021, Department also established a Chair of Excellence with the Ministry of Defense, and this chairs talked about military history, is going to research in military history, and currently this chair occupied by Dr. Sheshadri Chari. The department has MOU with very leading universities, including Institute of Defense Scientists and Technologists, as well as National Maritime Foundation. The department conducts 4 postgraduate courses, 2 undergraduate courses, then MPhil PhD program, as well as the main unique feature of the department that every year Department of Defense is hosting, we call it as Resident Scholar Program, that is RSP. Around 8 RSP is coming in the department, and they do research in the different field with the recommendation of Army Headquarters. And presently, the number of Army officers are carrying out their research in the field of defense and strategic studies and above the rank of Colonel and Brigadier. The General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture is organized as a symbol of recognition to the collaborative effort. Today, we have Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhari, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC, and Chief of the Air Staff as our chief guest for the General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture. Let me, on behalf of the Department of the Defense and Strategic Studies, faculty, and the students of Savitribai Phule Pune University, once again welcome the Chief of Air Staff and give a big hand for him. This is a memorial lecture and no questions and answers are asked. I now invite the Honorable Vice Chancellor to give his introductory remarks and introduce the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Namaskar, good afternoon, and welcome to the General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture 2023. Distinguished guest, Chief of Army Staff, Indian Air Force, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhari, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC, my colleagues, Professor Parag Kalkar, Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Vijay Khare, Head of Defense and Strategic Study and Registrar of SPPU, officers of Army, Navy, and Air Force, our former Vice Chancellor, Professor W.N. Gade, Professor Nitin Karmalkar, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I welcome you on the beautiful campus of Savitribai Phule Pune University. To make a mention here that Savitribai Phule Pune University is a leading state university in the state of Maharashtra. It is celebrating its Diamond Jubilee year, so we are in the Amrit Kal, and it has made a significant progress in training and research. Mainly the topic of research are focusing on the national importance and then in the science and technology and social sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce you today's distinguished guest, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhari, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC. Who was commissioned into the fighter stream of Indian Air Force on December 29, 1982. He is an alumnus of National Defense Academy, flying instructor, School of Defense Service Staff College, Wellington. The chief has a rich and varied experience of operational flying. He has flown over 3,800 hours. During his career, he has held numerous command and staff appointments and has been an Air Force examiner on fighter and training aircraft. He is a Cat A qualified flying instructor and an instrument rating instructor and examiner. The chief has a unique distinction of being an instructor at Defense Service Staff College, Wellington, as well as Defense Service Command and Staff College, Zambia. The Air Chief Marshal has commanded a frontline fighter squadron and 2 important fighter bases. Some of his notable assignments include Assistant Chief of Air Staff, Air Defense, Assistant Chief of Air Staff Personnel Officers, and Deputy Chief of the Air Staff, where he has superheaded the several major procurement cases of Indian Air Force. He later was an Air Officer Commanding Chief of Western Air Command and Vice Chief of the Air Staff before taking over as a Chief of Air Staff September 30, 21. With this brief introduction, may I request Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhari to deliver his B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Air Chief Marshal Naik, General A.K. Singh, Professor Gosavi, senior serving officers, esteemed veterans, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a pleasure to be here to deliver the B.C. Joshi Memorial Lecture, coincidentally happening on the 75th year of this wonderful establishment. Let me start by giving a statement, maybe disappointing, that I'm not going to deliver a lecture. I'm going to take you through a presentation on how I visualize the transformation of the Indian Air Force is going to be. So let me start by playing a short video clip which will sort of summarize the vision for the Air Force in just 3 brief statements. So as I said, these three brief statements, to see first, see the farthest, to reach first, reach the fastest, and to hit first, hit the hardest, summarizes the vision of the Air Force, where we are and where we want to be. However, this process of transformation into a future-ready and a future-capable Air Force is an arduous task for all of us. To be able to visualize, to be able to gaze into the crystal ball to see what the future holds for us, and what are the areas, what are the domains that we need to focus our energies on. Of course, the transformation will take place through newer acquisitions, infrastructure, technology infusion, automation, network, space, innovation, and so on. I shall touch upon these as I go along, but first let me get back to those three statements that were made. How do I see first and see the farthest? The sensors that help us to see first will comprise of ground-based radars and airborne radars. The primary function is to be able to look deep inside enemy airspace and enemy territory, to be able to judge, to be able to surveil the enemy movements, his intentions. We need to be able to look really deep inside the enemy territory. This is done through a combination of airborne platforms, like is shown in the picture, the Airborne Warning and Control System, the AVACS, or the Airborne Early Warning and Control. AU stands for aerostats, unmanned aerial vehicles, and satellites. These are all the aids that are going to help us to see first and see the farthest. Added to this will be the future inductions that are going to take place in the Air Force in the form of what we call the I-STAR. I-STAR stands for Intelligence, Surveillance, Target Acquisition, and Reconnaissance Aircraft. It's an all-in-one aircraft which gives us the capability not only to carry out surveillance and recce over the desired target areas, but to also direct weapons, to be able to direct fighter aircraft and direct all other shooters onto the target in real time. We have taken advantage of the privatization of Air India a couple of years ago. We purchased 6 Airbus 321 from Air India, and we are now going to mount the radars on them to make them what is called the AEW&C, the Mark II. Some of you must have read in the newspapers for an ongoing deal with the Americans to procure the MQ-9 Predator class of UAVs that will give us long endurance. This aircraft is capable of remaining airborne for almost 32 hours at a time and to be able to carry out surveillance over vast swaths of land. On the ground, we are going more and more indigenous in all the sensors. We are getting the medium power radar called the Arudra, designed and developed by DRDO, high power radars, the low-level lightweight radars which can be moved easily onto the mountain tops. We are getting something called VHF radars. You know, some of you are familiar with the radio spectrum. We'll understand that VHF is a frequency that can see through stealth aircraft. Very few radars are made in this band, so we are now progressing into designing and developing VHF radars. We are also cognizant of the fact that we have a huge mountainous boundary between our adversaries, and to be able to carry out effective surveillance, we need radars which can be placed on top of mountains, probably unmanned. The manning of those radars will be done in the plains somewhere. The next is to reach first. This capability to reach first assumes 2 dimensions. One is the capability of our strategic airlift aircraft. We are fortunate that we have a fairly good inventory of the C-17, the IL-76, the C-130 class of aircraft, which truly has given us a global reach for the Air Force. We are able to now project our power anywhere across the globe. Along with this, these aircraft give us the capability to be the first responders for any HADR situation, whether it is within the country or outside the country. Many examples, including the recent earthquake in Turkey and Syria, or in the one in Nepal, even as far back as the earthquakes in, the cyclone in Katrina in the United States of America almost 15 years ago, we were one of the first responders, thanks to the strategic airlift capability that we possess. However, this is something that we need to constantly build up upon. Some examples of where we have been the first responders. When the first wave of COVID, we first thing we did was a fact which is not known to many people. The Indian Air Force C-17 was the first aircraft to land in Wuhan in November 2019. So we extricated almost 180 of the Indian diaspora that day. We did a second trip 2 days later to pull out the rest of the Indian citizens who were residing in Wuhan. Thereafter, then the effort towards the first wave of COVID began, transporting vaccines across the globe. When the second wave hit, that is the time when we really had to put all our energies into mitigating the effects of the second wave. We flew actually 20 lakh kilometers in our C-17 aircraft. So like the Americans like to equate it, this is equivalent to going to the moon twice and back. We did around 1,900 sorties, flying to about 49 different countries, lifting oxygen tanks, supplying vaccines, and so on. This was a really mammoth effort that we undertook. When the Afghanistan takeover by the Taliban took place in August of 21, once again, very unique operations carried out by the Indian Air Force. We landed in Kabul, multiple sorties in dark conditions, uncontrolled airspace, no air traffic control. The controlling was done by one aircraft which is orbiting over Kabul, guided the other aircraft down. We established our own cordon with our special forces and extricated our diaspora, brought back 623 personnel, including the Embassy of India in Kabul. Then again, when the Russia-Ukraine war broke out in February last year, multiple sorties to countries like Poland, Romania, and the nearby countries, pulling out all our diaspora from that area. Sudan was the latest example, a classic case of being able to use our Special Forces aircraft, the C-130. There was a place called Sadi Waidinya, north of the capital of Sudan, Khartoum, an unprepared strip where we had a whole lot of Indian embassy people and Indian diaspora stranded there. We landed in dark night conditions on an unprepared strip with, again, no air traffic control there, and we pulled back about 67 people in that one sortie. Pictures on the left will show you the conditions what the pilots were seeing using the night vision goggles. Okay, this is as far as the transport aircraft and HADR is concerned. We are also today proud to have the fighter aircraft fleet, most of them except for the aging MiG-21s, which are capable of refueling mid-air, or what we call air-to-air refueling. So thanks to the capability of these fighters and our own tanker fleet, we are now able to actually go across the globe and project air power across continents. Just as an example, what we have been doing in the last 7 to 8 months. Sukhoi 30s went all the way to Australia, halting in Malaysia, did one exercise with the Malaysians, and then flew almost 6,000 kilometers to Australia. The next month, then we flew almost 9,000 kilometers all the way to Japan, using air-to-air refueling en route. Our Mirage 2000s went to UK. The same month, we carried out multiple exercises in France, Greece, Egypt, and so on. On a regular basis, some of the missions that we carry out from bases from here itself, from Pune. We've been getting airborne. Our Sukhois, you're all aware, are based here. We've been getting airborne from here, going all the way to Djibouti, going all the way to Maldives and back. So this is the capability that we have got, and this is something that we are actually, we need to capitalize on in terms of power projection of the nation. Coming to the last statement of hit first, hit the hardest. Primarily, the role of any Air Force is an offensive. The Air Force is an offensive arm of the nation. Ability to hit first, hit the farthest, hit with accuracy, hit the hardest is something that we have to continue honing our skills, acquiring the necessary hardware, and so on. We have seen the ongoing conflicts. Some of you who have been following what is happening in Russia, Ukraine, or even with the Hamas. It is the Air Force which has delivered the punch in most of the cases with its ability to carry out long-range precision strikes. The other roles which are in support of the ground forces will take the form of suppression of enemy air defenses using the modern attack helicopters that we have got, and providing fire support to ground forces in the tactical battle area. Multiple platforms carry out these kind of roles. The weapons, one again huge lesson takeaway from the ongoing conflicts across the globe is that we cannot fight tomorrow's war with imported weapons. We have to indigenize weapons. We have to indigenize, in particular, air-launched weapons. This is some area which we were really not progressing much, but the thrust of the Atmanirbharta campaign is really gaining ground. We are now proud of being able to host a whole lot of weapons as shown here, most of which were imported, are now going to be made in India and integrated with our Indian Air Force aircraft. When it comes to surface-to-air guided, the Akash missile, the MR-SAM, the S-400 are three different versions of surface-to-air guided weapons. We are also about to procure the close-in weapon systems and the VSHORADs, particularly to counter the threat from drones. So, all-encompassing air defense network to be able to counter slow-moving objects, small objects like drones, and going right up to the ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. Unfortunately, we still are yet to develop technology and acquire technology for countering hypersonic weapons. And that is an area where our focus will remain. So coming to the transformation, how we visualize the Air Force, this is picked out from the doctrine of the Air Force. The aim is to be an agile and adaptable Air Force that provides decisive air power in furtherance of our national interests. With this as a vision, the transformation, I would like to put it across in simple terms, what we call the ABCD of transformation. A for acquisition or acquiring new equipment. B for boosting what we already have. C is for conserving the old assets. And D is to develop new ones or to help in the development process. So our vision for capability development hinges upon these multi-pronged approach of A, B, C, D. Let me just touch upon them one by one. When it comes to acquisition, we have inducted the light combat helicopter, the Prachand. It is an indigenous aircraft capable of operating at high altitudes. This has been inducted into the Air Force. Shortly, the Army and the Air Force, both of us are going to place orders for about 166 more of these helicopters. The AEWC, the Netra, which is the eye in the sky. We have only 3 of them. Like I mentioned, we have procured the Airbus from Air India, and we will be carrying out modification of those to have what we call the AEWC Mark II. The C-295 is a joint venture with Tata and Airbus. So this is the first time a military transport aircraft will be made in India. It's a huge project. It involves around 125 MSMEs. It will generate a whole lot of man-hours of work. Interestingly, about 96% of the total man-hour work per aircraft will be undertaken in India. So in years to come, India will become a hub for manufacturing of military transport aircraft also. The H-8040 is the new trainer aircraft for which we have placed orders for 70 of them. The weapon systems, Akash, the MR-SAM, the radars that I just mentioned are also being upgraded constantly, and we'll keep placing orders for newer ones. The light combat aircraft, some of you would have heard in the news, we had placed an order for 83 of them in the past. We are now ready to place an order for 97 more. So we will be operating a fleet of about 220 light combat aircraft, the Tejas, in the Indian Air Force. Once again, a whole lot of PSUs and private agencies are involved in the design and manufacture of this aircraft. It is going to generate about 5,000 jobs in the private sector alone. When it comes to boosting our capability, some of these platforms, the pictures that you see here, the Mirage 2000, the Sukhoi, and the MiG-29, these aircraft are almost 30 to 35 years old, have rendered excellent service in the Air Force. However, the technology is a bit aging. It is more of third-generation technology in some of these aircraft. So always necessary to keep up with the 5th generation or the latest technologies. So we have upgraded the Mirage 2000. The Sukhoi 30, we have just got the clearance for upgrading the first tranche of 84 of them. The MiG-29s were upgraded by the Indian Air Force and not by the industry. We did it ourselves. The Mi-17 helicopters, which is the workhorse of the Indian Air Force, the entire fleet is getting upgraded within the country. For the Sukhoi 30, it will be done by the HAL, of course. Once this integration and the upgrade is done, I think we will be able to reach 78% indigenization in the Sukhoi 30 platform. So it will no more be a Russian platform, it will be more of an Indian aircraft in future. Some of the capabilities that we already have, when we talk about the Air Force, when you think of Air Force, people only think of aeroplanes and fighter aircraft and so on. But there's a lot which happens on the ground, a lot which happens behind the scenes. Primarily the networks, the sensors and so on. The effort is on to continuously keep upgrading our networks. I shall just touch upon our network in the next slide. Data centers and so on need to be constantly improved in their capability. We have not a very happy distinction of operating 3 of these aeroplanes that you see in the picture here, the Avro, the MiG-21 and the Chetak. All have finished 60 years of service to the nation. Aging platforms, unfortunately, we are not able to replace them on time, but we are still continuing to utilize them to exploit their potential of these aircraft. Fairly useful aircraft in their own realms. They have done excellent service to us. It is a testimony to our maintenance practices and to our engineers who have managed to keep them flying for so many years. Similarly, some of our old radars, again, have touched, radars and these surface-to-air weapon systems that you see are 45, 50-year-old. It's difficult, it's a big challenge to maintain them, but it is necessary that we have the numbers. So to have the quantity, we need to continue ensuring their availability. Lastly is developing and helping the Defense Research Development Organization, the industry, to develop new technologies that are going to be embedded into our service in the years to come. The I-Star I've mentioned, we are looking at the Indian medium lift helicopters, the LCA Mark II, the AEWC, like I said, the indigenous UCAVs. The AMCAR stands for the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. It's 5th generation aircraft, whole lot of weapons, and most importantly is engines. Unfortunately, we did not have the technology to build our own engines that are suitable for fighter aeroplanes in our country. Now we are going to sign a deal with GE, which will give us transfer of technology of the 414 engine, GE, which will be mounted on the LCA Mark II aircraft. This is going to be a major boost to the Indian aerospace industry also. Moving on, the infrastructure transformation will take place in terms of providing more hardened aircraft shelters, newer airfields. Right now, we have work is in progress to create new airfields, one at a place called Neoma, which is in the eastern Ladakh sector. This will be the airfield with the highest elevation in the Indian Air Force at height of 14,000 feet. We are also creating a new air base at a place called Disa in Gujarat. All our airfield infrastructure has been upgraded. 37 of our airfields are now up to the late modern standards. A very important area is the critical information infrastructure. We are firmly of the opinion that if we have to be a force to reckon with in the future, we need to be completely network-centric. And to do so, we need to have really robust networks, 5th generation technologies embedded in them. Not only robust, they have adequate security features, adequate redundancies. So towards this, we have taken huge steps. We have our own terrestrial network called the Air Force Net. We have now upgraded it to what is called a software-defined network. We are now procured 5G handsets for all our personnel in the Indian Air Force. And by April this year, the entire Indian Air Force, all personnel will hopefully carry a 5G-enabled mobile phone on the Air Force Net. Disruptive technologies definitely have to be capitalized upon. Firstly, this term I'd like to spend a minute or two in explaining to shorten our decision-making cycles. This is what is famously called in the military parlance as the OODA cycle. Observe, orient, decide, and act. The aim of any military commander is to ensure that the opponent or the adversary is always left in the observe and orient phase. He can keep looking at us, he can keep seeing, but he will never know what is the decision, or he will not be able to take any action. And our aim is to shorten the ODA loop to be able to quickly observe, orient, take a decision and act. So the idea is to keep your ODA loop shorter than the adversary's ODA loop, to reduce this, what we call the sensor to shooter time. Towards this, we have now embarked on a journey to get software-defined radios, newer data links, space-based communication and surveillance systems. We are focusing, like I said, on the 5th generation technologies and all through the indigenous route. From what I mentioned so far on the networks, the software-defined radios and so on, every single bit of hardware and software is going to come from the indigenous route. We are also looking at teaming our fighters with the unmanned combat aerial vehicle, the UCAVs. This is called MUMT, Manned Unmanned Teaming. A lot of people ask us what is the relevance of fighter aircraft going to be 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Let me assure you that fighter aircraft will remain. They will remain till a time where the AI on an unmanned aircraft is so good that it can evade enemy missiles, it can take faster decisions in the air. Okay, this, in my opinion, is still a long time from today. So therefore, the first step is to team these unmanned aircraft with manned platforms. Within the efforts, we have gone into a lot of automation when it comes to the operation planning, real-time monitoring. We are doing all our maintenance electronically, what we have an electronic maintenance management system. It is one of the largest enterprise in the world today. The EMMS and the what we call the EMALS, the Integrated Material Management Online System, with millions of components being tracked continuously for their life, for their servicing, and for so on. It has really given us a huge capability boost in terms of adapting modern technologies to ease our work process. Even in the administrative side, a whole lot of issues are now done completely with the help of automation and some AI modules. In short, we are now going towards paperless offices, e-governance, and using all the available technology at our fingertips to be able to bring in more efficiency in the way we work. Okay, moving on to, like I said, network operations. To be able to reach a time and space in the years ahead where we can be truly network-centric. These are the 3 areas that we need to focus on. First is the ground network. We had established an Air Force countrywide network back in 2004, which rides on multiple fiber optic cables provided by, again, 3 or 4 providers, BSNL, PGCIL, and Railtel, and so on. So with a lot of redundancy in our networks, our ground network is very well established. And all our applications ride on this ground network, particularly our air defense. So all the air defense operations are on the ground network. What we are now progressing to is the airborne network. That means in the past, if an AEWC or some radar in the air had spotted a target, the information had to come from the airborne network to the ground network, through the ground network pass to an airborne fighter or a ground fighter who would now go and engage the target. With the airborne network through the software-defined radios, what we are looking at is minimizing the sensor to shooter time. So the response time is going to be minimal. Of course, the space network will be an over-encompassing thing on all these networks. So the integration of this is a work in progress, and I'm happy to say that we have taken huge steps here, and in a few years from now, we will be truly network-centric in our operations. Sorry, I just covered this. Now, in our operational networks, again, 5th generation technology would be to have predictive network analysis in all our security operations center. Redundancy, I've mentioned, integration and interoperability of networks. Now, mind you, we cannot go at it alone. The future of any conflict is going to be multi-domain with participation and interoperability with all, not only the other 2 services, but a whole lot of other agencies within the country. Here is where it is important for us to start integrating our networks. Our air defense networks are being integrated with those of the Army and the Navy. The other communication networks also in due course of time will get integrated. And the day is not far when all of us will be on a common platform when it comes to communications. The transformation through in the space domain. The GSAT-7 series are already in the air. We are launching a new satellite for the Air Force, the GSAT-7C, primarily for software-defined radio communications. The space situational awareness and anti-satellite technology is something that we are constantly aware of, educating our personnel, and we are exploiting the space-based assets for enhanced communications, enhanced surveillance, and so on. The future of any warfare, any conflict today is not going to remain only in the kinetic domain. This we are all aware. We see what is happening across the globe today. Kinetic domain will form one part of any conflict. It is the non-kinetic domain which is going to now start overtaking the kinetic domain in the years ahead. Cyber warfare, information warfare, space warfare, and all that have equal value as traditional, conventional attacks. So to be able to carry out multi-domain operations, we realize the value of carrying out information warfare operations, of not only securing our own critical information infrastructure, but to be able to discern the weakness of the enemy's networks and his infrastructure. And that is going to be the primary targets for all of us. Like I mentioned, in this kind of multi-domain operations, delayed decision-making is what we have to impose upon our adversary, to be able to expand his OODA loop to an extent where he's not able to act at all. For this, we need our own cyber infrastructure to be absolutely robust. We need to continuously practice operating in conditions of denial. We have set up our own Air Force cyber group, and we're using a whole lot of AI and machine learning facets in being able to discern shortfalls or shortcomings in our multi-domain operations. Some technology issues, we had curated a thing called the Meher Baba drone competition back in 2017. This actually was something like a Shark Tank event. We invested about 14 crores in curating and nurturing a whole lot of academia and small-scale industries in designing drones for, swarm drones for multiple uses. So we had given a challenge to the industry to develop 50 drones which can deliver, for example, 1 kg of medicines or something to 50 different people located 5 kilometers away and come back to base. So this was one of the challenges. We had given 6 or 7 challenges. In a period of 2 years, the drone industry has grown to where they've got today. From the services itself, we've got orders of about 800 crores with another 2,000 crores worth of order in the pipeline. So this is a huge impact that this one competition has had on nurturing the drone ecosystem within the country. So like this, we have now got a whole lot of projects in what we call the Make 1, 2, 3 categories under technology, demonstration, IDEX. There's a whole lot of categories which are given out in the Defense Procurement Manual, the different ways how we can engage with the academia and the industry to develop products that we need in future. I'll just skip through this because these are just a list of some of these innovations that we are engaging with. The whole idea is that the Indian Air Force, we are aware that we are very sensitive to technology. We cannot remain even half a generation behind in any technological advancement in the world. An example I would like to quote is the 3G or 4G or 5G mobile communication, the data rates. Just 10 years ago, most of us were on 3G telephones. The time it took to download 20 MB of data or one movie was some hours, few hours, 3 hours or 4 hours it used to take to download one movie. When it came to 4G, you could do it in 40 minutes. In 5G, you can do it in 2.5 minutes. So try to visualize if your opponent, adversary, is still in 3G conditions or 3G state of equipment and you are in 5G. What an humongous advantage you have over him. So therefore, being sensitive to technology, we are aware that we need to be constantly upgrading. We need to be at the latest technology levels at all times. We need to incorporate disruptive technologies, and it will play a decisive role. Some of the new technologies, like we said, are the hypersonic weapons, quantum communications, big data analytics, electronic warfare, and so on. The other transformation that is required to be able to not only assimilate these technologies, but to be able to put it to use is to transform the human being. We need to change our thought processes. We need to change our mind. We have now embarked on a huge mission to disrupt the entire training that we were doing all these years, to change the entire training pattern, to make it more focused on learning than teaching, to make it focused on newer technologies and how they can be applied to the Air Force. So we, right from our airmen training to officers training, everybody starts his career in the Air Force with one iPad with information on it. All the so-called notes and precis and textbooks are all now given on that. We are going to now incorporate newer technologies using chatbots and chat GPT and so on to make it easier for a person to gain knowledge on his own. Smart training is the way ahead. The Indian Air Force is very happy to be completely gender agnostic now. We have women in every branch of the Indian Air Force, and I must say they're doing very well. The last bullet here is important. The idea is to transform air warriors into scholar warriors in future. The transformation through training takes place through joint operations with the Army and the Navy. We copiously use what we call the integrated training area in the heartland of the country, where we can freely expose our radars and our electronic warfare equipment. So all our squadrons, they continuously are operating in that area, honing their skills on that. Time-sensitive targeting is something that, for the Air Force, it's a very important thing. Being really an offensive arm, ability to deliver weapons at the shortest possible time, is very important for all of us to be geared up to understand what is time-sensitive targeting. For example, the Israel-Hamas attack which took place, the retaliation was swift, and it was swift through the Israeli Air Force, because they are prepared, always prepared with weapons loaded, the briefings carried out, the targets sort of earmarked. Only a fine-tuning is required to go and strike the target when it is visible, before it goes into tunnels or whatever. Operating in an environment of denial, once we get so used to operating with these new technology and the gadgets, it becomes more and more difficult to operate without the help of technology. Okay, and a simple example in our day-to-day lives is you try to finish 24 hours of your life today without a mobile phone. I'm sure you may not be able to sleep at night. But this is what we have to train our people to operate. Once we are network-centric, we are on 5G communications, we are on all this. But something may get hit one day. So the idea is to keep training for operating in an environment of denial. Bilateral, multilateral exercises, there's a lot to learn from best practices from other nations. And we were fortunate this year to host 7 countries in our, 7 Air Forces in our country to carry out international exercises. And we also went out to about 9 countries in 1 year to carry out international exercises with them. Like I mentioned here, the training pattern is being disrupted continuously. More use of simulators in technology in our training syllabi. Lastly, of course, the transformation will take place through jointness and integration. We understand the importance of carrying out joint planning. Primarily, this is what is going to help in the application of firepower available with all the 3 services. We are enhancing the quality and quantity of exercises that we do with the Army and the Navy. We already set up what we call the joint logistics nodes, made joint SOPs, joint ISR, that is sharing of data through our respective owned unmanned air vehicles, maintenance practices, cross-posting, and so on. So this is all ongoing effort. Just to summarize, to say that it is just not the technology which is going to take us into the Amrit Kal or the 100 years. It is going to be the man behind the machine which is also going to help us move forward. So in short, I would say that the future battlefield is going to be cluttered, congested, contested, and complex. So what it amounts to is that we need to reimagine, reinvent, rededicate, and retrain ourselves for the future conflicts. And let me assure you that as the Indian Air Force reaches its 100th year, 9 years from today, my vision is that we will reach this goal. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. As mentioned earlier, the General B.C. Joshi lecture has been institutionalized at the Chief of the Staff Committee levels, ensuring that one of the service chiefs in rotation will deliver the memorial lectures. The lectures delivered so far have been compiled and published in the form of a book titled General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lectures on National Security. The book is edited by former Vice-Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Dr. Nitin Karmalkar, and Head of Department of Defense and Strategic Studies, Professor Dr. Vijay Khare. The book is published by Pentagon Press, LLP, New Delhi. I request Professor Karmalkar to come on the dais. May I request the Chief of the Air Staff to release the book in the presence of the august gathering and do the honors. General B.C. Joshi Memorial Lectures on National Security. Book release. Thank you, sirs. Thank you. We now proceed with the felicitation of the chief guest, Air Marshal, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhari, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC, Chief of the Air Staff, with a shawl, memento, with a shawl, memento, and a bouquet. Thank you, sir. The Chief of the Air Staff will also like to present the Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Dr. Suresh Gosavi, with a memento. Thank you, sirs. May I now request the Honorable Pro Vice-Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Dr. Parag Kalkar, to propose a vote of thanks. This will be followed by the national anthem, group photo and tea.
Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very thankful to Honorable Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhari, sir, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC, and Chief of Air Staff, who has delivered the General BC Memorial Lecture 2023 on the theme, Transformation of Indian Air Force into Contemporary and Future-Ready Aerospace Force. Sir, with the supersonic speed, the changes adopted by Indian Air Force, and you have taken us deep dive into the power of Air Force with I-STAR, AEW and C, MK radar, high-power radar, various international relief operation, air-to-air refueling, the kind of exercises across the globe, hit first and hit hard, and then Atmanirbhar Bharat, ABCD transformation that is acquired, boost, conserve, and develop, use of disruptive technologies, automation and transformation in the Indian Air Force, three-layer network, that is ground network, airborne network, and space network, adopting of the 5G technologies and multi-domain integration, transformation from man to machine with smart training. So we are really delighted to have you present and with your thought process. I would again like to thank Air Chief Marshal P.V. Naik sir, PVSM, VSM, Lieutenant General Ajit Kumar Singh, AVSM, VSM, SM, VSM, Lieutenant General Ramesh, A.K. Ramesh, Major General Abhijit Bapat, Major General Ajay Sethi, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Professor Dr. Suresh Gosavi sir, former Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Dr. Vasudev Gade sir and Dr. Nitin Karmalkar sir, Air Marshal Bhushan Gokhale, Air Marshal Soman sir, General Hasabni sir, Head of the Departments, Member of the Management Councils, Senate and Academic Council, Administrative Staff of Savitribai Phule Pune University and Department of Defense and Strategic Studies, Officers of Army, Navy, Air Force, both serving and retired, members of electronic and print media, and last, the backbone behind all these exercises, Dr. Vijay Khare sir, who is Registrar and Head of the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We proceed with the national anthem. I request the students to come and sing the national anthem, and I request the audience to join them.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंग तव शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभाशिष मागे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Jai Hind. We'll have a quick group photograph. Students and the staff of Defense International Center, please quickly gather together for a group.